I'm walking in front of the LaSalle National Bank here in Chicago, also known as the Field Building. It was the original location of one of the first skyscrapers in the world, called the Home Insurance Building. There's an awesome plaque I'll zoom into on the southwest corner. This marks the original site of the Home Insurance Building, completed in 1885 and widely recognized as the world's first skyscraper. The building itself is gone, but the idea that was tested here went on to shape every modern city skyline we know today. To understand why this happened in Chicago, not somewhere else, you have to look at the city in the late 19th century. After the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, much of the city had to be rebuilt from scratch. And at the same time, Chicago was exploding economically, being the center of the rail, commerce, and really a center of industry. Business wanted to be close to the loop, close to transportation, and close to the money. But traditional buildings had a limit. They were made with masonry construction, required much thicker walls, especially the taller you went, the thicker the walls became. And by the time you had any substantial height at the time, 8-10 stories, the walls would be incredibly thick on the ground floor, and you would lose a ton of usable space. Chicago didn't just want taller buildings, it needed them. Enter architect William Le Baron Jenney. He was the architect for the Home Insurance Building. He was trained as an architect as well as an engineer. And while he was studying in Paris, he was exposed to iron construction, which was used in bridges and industrial buildings at the time. Jenney approached architecture as a structural problem first. And this mindset led him to a question that most architects of the time probably weren't thinking yet. What if walls didn't have to carry the building at all? This led to the key innovation for the Home Insurance Building, which was its metal skeletal frame. The original building was made out of iron, and the addition later was constructed with steel. Instead, we're relying on those thick masonry walls we were talking about to support this building's height and weight. Loads were carried by an internal frame of columns and beams. This led walls to be much lighter and windows to be much larger. And most importantly, the height was no longer limited by gravity acting on solid brick. So, even though the building didn't have a fancy curtain wall, it was only 10 stories tall when it opened, the structure of the building itself proved that buildings could go upward in an entirely new way. It didn't need to be supported by walls, it could have an internal skeleton. So this wasn't just a taller building in the city, it was a completely different way of how buildings could work and be constructed. Just a few years later, after it was completed, the Home Insurance Building was expanded. In 1891, 2 additional stories were added, made possible precisely because of its innovative skeletal frame system. If you tried to add 2 stories on a traditional masonry building, there would have proven major structural risks, but because of the innovative skeletal frame, you were able to just add on top. So this building itself became a real-world case study for the future of tall construction. By the 20th century, it was considered outdated, short, inefficient, and less profitable than newer, taller buildings nearby. In less than 50 years, in 1931, it was demolished to make way for larger commercial development like the Field Building. It's not like architects didn't know at the time that this building wasn't significant and important. There just wasn't a mechanism yet for formal preservation for early skyscrapers, and there wasn't a way developed for the city to be able to protect these kind of historic buildings in the downtown, especially with market forces and the land values being as pricey as they are and as valuable as they were. So ironically, the building that made skyscrapers possible was replaced by the very skyline it helped create. Even though the Home Insurance Building is gone, its influence is everywhere, especially here in Chicago. Every steel frame tower owes something to what started in the site in 1885. If you'd like to see more stories like this, early skyscrapers, forgotten buildings, or architectural ideas that changed cities, let me know in the comments. What buildings would you like me to cover next?